At the start of the pandemic, we started to think about how we were going to continue our work. We had been used to seeing people in person, sometimes at home, sometimes in different clinics, and we had to think about how we would cope with not being able to see as many people face to face. The team had a look at things such as telephone appointments, and we started to use those to speak to people experiencing memory problems and their loved ones. And we also were using what they call NHS Near Me, which is a video conferencing package that lets you have secure conversations with people. And as time went on, we became quite used to how everything worked together, and were quite pleased at how things were developing. So it was a combination of sending out written information, speaking to people on the phone, doing some home visits and seeing some people face to face when that was required, but making a lot more use of telephone and video appointments. And I think over this time we've learned about how useful sometimes that is, that sometimes people prefer just to speak to us by phone rather than travelling a distance to see us somewhere. And we're now making the best use of those different types of appointments and, you know, thinking about what suits the people that we're talking to best. A lot of what we deliver is around what's called the home-based memory rehabilitation strategies, which is a big title for different approaches to learning new ways to do things that make remembering easier. And we're finding that people are finding it helpful to have these conversations with us. That's the feedback we're getting from people, that they're quite enjoying some of the video calls because they get to see a face rather than not just hear a voice. And I think people are appreciating that when we do go and see them, that, you know, we're getting a flavour of how things are in their home environment as well. So I think we've improved our service perhaps, you know, through what happened with the pandemic, and we're now able to look at tailoring it to what that person needs and what their loved ones needs to help them. Now, some of the people we see, they might be diagnosed with things like mild cognitive impairment or different types of dementia. And we know that using memory strategies help people stay well and stay, you know, living well and comfortably at home for longer. So it, you know, it feels a positive piece of work to be doing. As part of our roles as occupational therapists, we also get involved at looking at meaningful occupations for people. And I've had the pleasure of being involved in a working group which has been looking at animation and how we can use that to tell the story of, you know, people who are living with dementia, and also how we might use it as a way to explain different memory strategies people might want to use. And one of the gentlemen on our working group is called Danny, and he has given a podcast about his life story, and we have been working with him to animate that story. And I've got the pleasure of introducing a clip, or we could say a trailer for that story, I'll introduce now.
Since my diagnosis, I was diagnosed with vascular dementia at 52. Prior to that, I was having problems because I was a night shift worker and our computer system had changed. And one of my colleagues spent most of the night going through the new computer system with me. And by the morning, I couldn't remember each stage. I went to see the doctor and did the memory tests and had the CT scan and whatnot, but we're told it was vascular dementia. And initially you feel like your world's come to an end. You don't know where you're going to go next. You don't know what life holds for you.
So as you'll have seen, Danny's story is, you know, a very personal and moving account of, you know, what he experienced when he first noticed memory problems. And you'll have noticed that the trailer says, you know, coming soon. There'll be more of his story coming later. And he goes on to give us more information about the new people he's met and the new things he's been doing with his time and how life has really opened up after his diagnosis. So it's quite a positive story. and all the more powerful for the fact that, it's someone's own experience. Going forward, I think we're feeling quite positive about the future here in Dumfries and Galloway, and making best use of the technology and the new developments that we've had to work with during the pandemic, to keep delivering a service and support to people struggling with memory problems.